Welcome everyone to the warehouse series. So today we're going to be staying on the subject of smaller cases. I got two orders here that I took pictures of. I can't always video. We're going to go over these pictures and I'm going to show you how I start bases with smaller cases. So let's get right to it. So right in this one here, guys, what I notice I do is I always start in the front of my pallet. I always start in the front of my pallet and I start building it up. I want to get it to a certain height. So what you want to do is you want to give yourself like a guide. Okay, you don't want to go flat with your first level. You want to give yourself a guide. I'm going to build up, whatever, 6 inches, 10 inches, 12 inches, and then I'm going to try to bring the rest of my pallet to meet that. Build up, meet it, okay? You want to always give yourself like a guide. You notice in all my videos that I always start building up the middle first. I'm going to show you something later on talking about that right there. But let's get to the picture here. So basically, I'm just starting with my corners. And I always have my middle go in this way. I never have cases, width-wise in the middle. It's always, going back on the pallet. And then I got the other two ones pointing in. You'll see that all the time. Start looking at all my orders, guys. I'm not saying this is the proper way of building. I feel I build good pallets, and I just tell this is what works for me. There's other people out there that are going to have different ways of doing things. This is what works for me. So this is what I'm teaching on this channel. So in this picture here, guys, like I said, I like to build on the back of my pallet. It makes it easy to take pictures and take videos. So the cases up front, they're just cases that were not working for me. The two cases with the lids, whatever those are, not the green box, but the other two, they are very light. So like I told you in the last video with the creamers that guy had on the bottom, I said if they were up higher, it wouldn't be an issue because you're not putting that much weight on them. Well, these cases, unless I had a place to hide them in the middle of my pallet, which I did not, I do not want to put these on yet. I just didn't want to put a lot of weight on them because they would crush. I mean, they are very, very light cases. I literally could just toss them around. They're like light as a feather. I don't know what's in it. It's probably mac and cheese, like the noodles or something. So I like to stick them out of the way if I can, and put them on at a later time whenever I feel like they're going to be safe. But here you got the two cases of hummus together, making my strong corners, big cases on the corners. You guys can see that. I like to build corners and then work my way in. All right, guys, so in this picture right here, you can see I started tying stuff in already. Sometimes, like I said, way back when I said, when you're doing produce, those columns could get high and then you tie it in on the last layer. You want to tie in when you possibly can. But if you don't have the opportunity, you don't have the opportunity. Well, right now, I'm already having an opportunity to tie in with these Dannons. I had level playing fields, and now I'm tying in. So now I'm getting that weight distribution to go towards the middle of the pallet from the front. So now I'm not going to have a straight column. Now I got, that one layer of weight distribution is all you need. Now I can start stacking straight up on the front of those Dannons again. It's a big game. I say that all the time. It's all about levelness and weight distribution to make sure that your pallet is not going to fall over. Let's get to the next picture. All right, guys, real quick, this is the back of it. I just want to show you the back of that. The Chobani on the one side, like I said, it's straight up and down, but I got a level playing field, so I'm not even 100% sure if I tied this in or not, but it's still enough. They're thicker boxes, so you're not going to have that much of an issue of a rocking corner whenever you have bigger boxes. That's why I like the big boxes on the corners. I told you that I like to build the middle of my pallet up. So let's look at the next one real quick. All right, guys, so this is the same picture. All right, so the red arrow is where I like, with smaller case orders, I like to build the middle of my pallet up to give me a guide. Now, whether that is that high or another case on top, and then I try to build the rest of my pallet to meet my guide. Whenever I have big cases, like let's say I'm in the juice aisle and I know I'm getting out of the bigger cases and I'm getting to the smaller cases, I give myself a guide. I'll take cheese boxes or whatever it is, and I like to build on the corner with the bigger boxes. I like to build in the middle with the smaller cases. I don't know why, that's just how I do it. But the yellow box, is just another example. So let's say you like to build the corner first. Build the corner up a little bit. Use that as a guide. And do everything in your power to level off to your guide. You guys understand that? So like just build a section of your pallet up and then don't go any higher with that until you start getting pretty level with it. And I think that's another way I keep these pallets really level is I give myself a guide and then I try to bring the rest of the pallet to meet that guide. Give myself a guide, and I just keep working my way up the pallet like that. I hope that makes sense. As you can see, those cases are still on my front pallet. I use the green cheese box. It's right underneath the red arrow. I had a place to put that in because it was solid and it fit in perfect right there. But guys, those things, like I said, they're really light, so I was waiting for an opportunity to use them later. All right, guys, so in this picture right here, once again, over on the right side of that pallet, I started building straight up again because I used my Dannon to tie in. Now look on the back one, same thing. I got 2 more of those boxes, so I'm tying in the pallet this way. Once again, guys, like I said, I'm nice and level with the middle of my, my middle pallet there. Build up. And now I'm trying to level off everything. All right, guys, and like I said, I haven't been staying in a while, and I asked a couple people, do they get orders like this? I was actually pretty aggravated whenever this happened. So I thought I was done. I thought I was done with my small pallet of dairy, but thankfully, I always build level pallets. It's just, it didn't even matter if I was going to this crap or not. I frown upon this. I think the warehouse shouldn't be doing this. If anything, it should have been the opposite direction. I should have started with apples and lettuce if that's what they wanted me to throw, and then I should have went over to the yogurt to throw on top of my apples. Why they sent me to the 40L, which is our apples and stuff to that nature, heavier products, where even ciders in there. Now it's not my problem. Okay, now it's not my problem because those cases that I talked about that I put on the front of the pallet, those crushable cases, well, unfortunately, they're under 2 layers of apples now. Why they would have me come over here is a warehouse problem, not my problem. So that's, as far as I'm concerned, I build this pallet good, and if anything's damaged on the yogurt part, it's a warehouse problem. So as far as I'm concerned, they shouldn't have had me come over here. All right, guys, so let's get on to the next pallet. All right, so here again, once again, guys, I started off with a lot of smaller cases. I started building up the front of my pallet first. That is just how I start these or these smaller case orders. Honestly, the big box that's on top of this 4 Chobani, or Yo plates rather, I could have easily put that on a back corner. Honestly, if I did it all over again, I probably would have put it on the back corner. I don't know why I didn't. Because like I said, start up on the front of your pallet, building up. Once again, look at the pattern I do. Like I said, you can find similar things with every single one of my pallets. They all look the same. Middle column with 2 going in this way. Okay, even though it's 4 Chobani, but it's still, like I said, you use the light boxes to build almost what would resemble a bigger box. And that's what I'm doing here. Same way, I start the same way every time. I never change it. And real quick, here's the opposite side of that, just to give you guys a view of how I'm starting this. Taller boxes in the middle. Taller, awkward boxes in the middle. All right, guys, here's the next step of that pallet. You can already see that I'm tying in the middle of that column. I'm keeping my front pallet nice and level. Keeping that light case right behind the front there I would never put that on a corner if I can help it. And I got bigger cases on the back, and look, right again, it's almost identical to the front of my pallet is the back of my pallet with these smaller case orders. I'm going straight up the middle of the pallet and then building this way, keeping the smaller cases in the cross. All right, guys, and guys, this pallet is working out really well for me. I know this was not a big pallet, but right here, let's go right to this. Look, what do you see? You see the letter T. Smaller cases in the middle, bigger cases on my corners, keeps a nice sturdy pallet. That's what I talk about with the cross and the T, but there's a perfect T right in the middle of this pallet when I have a smaller case order. Give yourself a guide and then build up to that guide. Do not exceed that guide, okay? If that cost you moving cases around multiple times, then so be it. If you're on your training week, you want to move cases around. Learn to build pallets like this on your training week. And then it gets to where the point that you're not even thinking about it and you're going to get this kind of result. Here we are, guys, a little bit higher up the pallet. I actually think I'm done. This was a small pallet, but I wanted to do it because it was smaller cases. But once again, everything is pretty darn level, okay? Guys, this is how you want to do bases whenever you have smaller case orders. Just go over these videos and just, guys, look at these pallets. You could look at every single dairy yogurt pallet that I do, and they all look the same. Your pallets should not look different from one to the other. They should all look the same once you find something that works. If it's not working for you, then they should look different. But once you find something that works, they should all look the same. To me, this is the perfect way to start a base. So even if this was another 100 cases, it doesn't matter because now I have a nice, strong foundation to what this pallet could be, if it was another 100 cases. All right, guys, one more thing I wanted to add on that I forgot to add on is right here. As you can see, I put this case down, and the gap between the front one and the back one it's pretty big, but it's not big enough to fit a case. The chances of me finding a case to fit in that little space are slim to none. So you want to do this. Before I put the case on top, I want to be able to slide that case over, center it, and then put the case on top just to even out the gaps on both sides. I promise you that little thing is going to help you with a sturdier base. If I would have left it the way it was before, that big gap was going to cause me problems. So that's one last tip that I wanted to get to. So guys, that's it for today. If you're not a subscriber, I really appreciate if you do that. I'm trying to get these videos right to the point, less than me talking in the beginning. So guys, I welcome you to the channel. If you enjoy it, subscribe, help me out, and give me a thumbs up and leave any comments, Discord in the description below. I'll see you later.